We're live. When I was a boy, I knew I was different, seeing things beyond the sight and understanding of others, feeling things that no one else around me understood or cared to help me with. Left to my own devices, I was pursued by something that took offense to my desire to live past its attack and drove my family mad. In the end, I stood tall, barely. Now I stand ready to help other children of the light, gifted people in need of guidance, who have only known what it is to be different and marginalized because of those differences. You're not alone. You are loved, and the light is in your life for a reason. Believe it. For those of you who are simply interested in learning about the world beyond your own, there is room for you too. Welcome, all who come in peace to this gathering. Come now and let me show you the wonders in which I have walked. Okay, so today's topic is a little different. We're actually going to be talking about some place that I'd seen a few days ago, which left quite an impression on me. Now, I've never seen the place before. When I'd been to England, thankfully, we'd never gone to Athelhampton Manor, or I probably would have a completely different set of stories to tell. And my wife was watching a movie, and it was called From Time to Time, with Dame Maggie Smith in it. I don't remember the rest of the cast because I was too busy having data poured into my head through staring into the shadows of this manor. Now, the name of the place, Athelhampton Manor, is a modification of the original Celtic name, which I've forgotten. I only just started looking this stuff up a couple days ago, so forgive me. I'm no expert on Athelhampton. But Athelhampton, I thought we should discuss for the main reason that it is a classic example of a manifold series of haunting types. It actually has, that I can verify because I had the information poured into my memory, 3 ghosts that actually have sentience. And then according to the people who were discussing it and all the information and anecdote online, there are several others, 3 others specifically. They talk about 6 different ghosts, but they're not really 6 different ghosts. The other 3 are actually memories being replayed from the stonework of the castle. Sorry, not the castle, the manor itself. It's no longer a castle. Up until the 1850s, I believe it had a wall and a gatehouse, and they destroyed it in order to build up the manor itself. So, as I was standing there watching this show, as the boy goes into the house, the hallway, the main hall in which the boy walks into, the shadows felt like they were breathing, and the amount of energy in the background count began to feed information in a fashion that I haven't had happen to me since I was 5 or 6. And the next thing I realized, I actually knew a lot about this house. And the more that I stared, the more this information kept pouring into my brain. And I wanted it to stop because it felt like I was on a roller coaster ride where the roller coaster is doing barrel rolls. And I had to stop. And my wife said, "Oh, really? You're getting all that information? Well, tell us what you can sense." So the first thing I said was, there's a lady dressed in light or white, and she roams the halls. People have seen her. Mostly she's on the bottom floor, but she doesn't go up to the top. The reason why is because there's a clergyman or a priest or something. He's usually dressed in black, and he walks around in the upper areas, and he is a menacing person. But the weirdest part about the entire castle is that there's something, and I held my hand about 2.5, 3 feet off the ground. I said, there's something about this tall, and I can keep seeing it running around the inside of the castle, and it isn't human, and I have no idea what it is, and that's the one that really freaks me out the most. So she looks it up on her phone as we're watching the thing, and I'm standing next to the TV so I don't have to stare at the screen and get anything more disturbing poured into my head. And she looks up. Yep, there's a lady in gray who's been seen multiple times, including by the current lady of the manor. The servants are usually menaced by a ghostly priest in black on the upper floors, and there is apparently an ape. It didn't look like an ape, but then again, when a ghost passes, it rarely looks like its original form unless it has a lot of energy to retain its appearance. And apparently this ape had died when one of the its caretakers had committed suicide in a hidden room, and the ape was locked in and starved to death. So I didn't get anything more than that the ghosts were there, because I didn't feel the need to expose myself to more of this. But it did intrigue me that this place had 3 sentient ghosts, and then the outside of the manor itself, the energy that is within the manor is not contained by the stones. There's a humongous oak tree just off to one side of the house itself. And in the movie, the boy climbs the oak tree and goes looking around and finds a set of spurs. Now, the energy that is being contained by the manor itself, it spills out, and the oak tree bends it back and pushes it back towards the house to keep it in. Reason unknown. All I noticed was that the fact that the energy between the tree and the house itself was thick, almost like a dark black curtain, similar to smoke, but it's impossible to really describe it. There's no way to really, unless you can see it, to give you a full idea of what it looked like. And it was not menacing, just powerful. I would be curious to know, if anybody actually knows, whether there's ley lines under the building, because I couldn't see anything for the amount of energy that was suffused through everything. So in any case, that's the intro for that. So you had done some research on it, Lori?
Yes, I had, but of course, I didn't see anything.
Well, no, that you don't have to. It's not where your gifts lie. But what had your research turned up?
Just the video that I told you about, and that's it, really.
What happened in the video?
It was the series Unseen, something like that, and it was British, and basically this medium went around and was saying these different things about that were in the castle. Turns out he was exposed to be a fake later on. Sean told me that. I didn't know that.
Well, that's Most Haunted then, not Unseen.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, that's David Akora. The dude is, yeah.
Yeah.
He actually is still making money, sort of like that one lady who, in the United States, the chain smoker and her son were fleecing the movie stars, etc. I've forgotten her name. She finally got exposed and lost millions. This guy is their version of it. He's even tried to make contact with Michael Jackson. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. Anyway, and what struck me the most is that one of the cameraman was starting to sense things, and the cameraman was really freaked out because he wasn't expecting it, which I sort of leaned towards believing the cameraman, because he seemed to be like, whoa, like, what is this? I'm not used to this.
One of the things I found is cameramen are oftentimes much more open to things because they're receptive, and they purposely leave themselves open and receptive as a medium.
Yeah. So that was all that I got.
Yeah, now, the other portions of the story that are kind of funny is, aside from the ape, the gray lady, who apparently may have been one of the previous ladies of the manor, and the priest, who may have been the Catholic priest. This is how old it is, because we're talking about England. He was a Catholic priest, so we know it's before the Protestantism took over England, and we had the conversion to Church of England. The other interesting parts are, it's very haunted mansion via Disney-ish, is that this one lady at one point in time, I think it was the 1950s, 60s, whatever, was there, and she was reading a book in the main hall, and 2 men burst in, dueling with swords and making such a loud ruckus and fighting back and forth. And she made some comment to them, and then when they didn't listen, she just moved over to another chair in the corner and continued to read them and tried to keep a stiff upper British lip. A situation like that, most Americans would have either bashed their heads together or walked out of the room so that they didn't end up shish kebabbed on the swords. But the British is like, I'm just going to ignore it. If I can't, if it doesn't pay attention to me, I'm not going to pay attention to them. Now, this is interesting because the fight continued until one of them drew blood, and then this sort of took the gas out of the entire fight, and they walked out of the room. The lady went to someone and explained what had happened, and was laughed at because it's a common occurrence. Apparently, at times, some people will see them. Nobody knows who the hell these duelists are, but apparently it's just a recording. They have they don't listen when you shout at them. Most people think that it's just some kind of a reenactment in the hall and just avoid it. But it's happened more than once. So that's one. Then there's a cooper who was apparently a person who used to work in the wine cellar. You can hear him tapping as he's making we used to make the kegs to store the wine. And I know there was another one. I can't remember who the last one was, but these little, a cat. Now this cat actually had died on the property. This cat had been sick for a while and had been moping about. And one day, this one gentleman who worked at the manor saw the cat was moving around and seemed to be much better and friskier and such. And he went to the gatekeeper's owner, to get the cat's owner, the gatekeeper, and made mention to him, say, "Oh, I'm glad to see he's doing much better. And I thought he was feeling sickly because he was, in his." And his owner said, "Well, no, because he was so sickly that he was actually run over by a car, like 5 or 6 days ago." Which is about the time the man started seeing the cat running around. So apparently on the property, you can see a cat. Don't know if it's sentient or not, because remember, I'm looking into the castle. To the manor itself. Apparently keeps the grounds and walks around and watches over it, which I thought was fairly interesting, which means that nothing inside can be overly dangerous if the cat is there. Sonia, you're having connection issues? There she goes again. As soon as I mention her name. So this also brings up the point of people who are fakes or try to make money off of this place. There is a gentleman who apparently has an Irish name who does tours of the castle, the manor rather, and you also can, through his agency, book haunted rooms to try and thrill yourself and expose yourself to potential hauntings, harm, and fearful things. So you can shriek, and there's reasons why some of these things are a bad idea. Now, the Athelhampton Manor may be not dangerous, and I'm going to tell you that for a fact that it doesn't feel dangerous. There's a lot of energy there, and it's untapped into. But a great many places are not going to be such happy stories. Now, the main reason for mentioning Athelhampton Manor is if you happen to live in the UK, you can go there and expose yourself to the energy in order to be able to see what you see or feel different things. And it's fairly benign. Now, I'm not going to start doing this series about more dangerous places, for the simple fact that I'm not going to feed into the addiction to have people go out into dangerous situations where these things can hurt you. I think somebody once said, why would you be afraid of ghosts? They can't really hurt you. They can't reach out and touch you. That's incorrect. They can touch you. They can hurt you. They can cut you. They can scrape you. They can shove you. They can knock you down. They can do a lot of these things. They're not safe. Athelhampton Manor is relatively safe and a fantastic way of exposing yourself to this energy so that you can actually see if you can get in touch with your gifts. And I believe they do have tours, etc. So it's sort of like going to the Queen Mary. Nothing there can hurt you. So it's a great way to see if you can't stimulate your other senses to be able to expand your abilities. So I'm going to try and make the series on this sort of thing more expansive, so that there's more. I can be able to tell you, yes, this place is safe to go. This place isn't safe to go. For instance, where Sonia lives, there is there's a series of haunted locations, of which that I have absolutely no recommendation that you go near them, because, well, let's face it, places of murder, decapitation, hangings, imprisonment, unless you're into that kind of thing, and I don't think you'd be into this level of it, it's not something you want to expose yourself to. In the past, there used to be areas of power that people would go to in order to train and expose themselves to energy so that they would learn and be able to grow. We don't have one of those. There's no Hogwarts for us. So I'm going to do my best to keep this series going, and I need your input. We actually have a dearth of input on places that you may know about, that I can research or that I can look into and be able to draw this information and infer it, so that I can go, yes, this is a good place to safely expose yourself to these energies, so that you can meditate in those areas and expand your. I don't want to sound trite, but expand your consciousness. Would that be acceptable, or do you have a better term, Joel?
I think that would be a good one.
It just sounds so guru, though. I just don't like it.
Well, maybe some expand your experience, expand your reality.
Oh, but that's very Carl Sagan. How about expand your...
Open your reality.
Find your own truth.
Better.
Yeah, there you go. So so that you can find your own truths. There we go. You missed most of it. The Athelhampton Manor was probably... It is literally one of the weirdest hauntings I have ever looked at.
I love the movie that's off of. As soon as you told me about it, you started describing the movie, like it was like, it's about time travel. I was like, oh, time and again, or
from time to time.
Yeah.
So it was. Did you see anything when you were looking at the movie? I couldn't, because the amount of data that poured into my head was like, movie? What movie? Just keep sitting here and watching all this other stuff that you don't mean to watch.
I was a kid when I saw the movie, and it was before I was awakened.
From time to time? Was from when you were a kid?
Which one? Is it the one from the 80s? There was one that was like that in the 80s.
I don't see. The only one I know of is more recent. Dame Maggie Smith played the grandmother.
Oh, I don't think I've seen that one there. I'm gonna check that one out.
See, and this one was in Athelhampton Manor. I don't know if the other one was, but this place is... When they started walking around the property, it didn't get any better. And the oak tree itself seemed to be containing a lot of this energy.
I have to check it out.
Lori, can you do a Google search and see if Athelhampton Manor sits on some ley lines? I'm just curious. Thank you. Go ahead, Joel.
I don't know if I'll find anything.
Just take a look. That's all I ask.
Oh, that was it. By the way, sorry I was late.
That's okay.
Got here as soon as possible.
Yeah. Now, I need to find places like this around where everybody is, so that they can go and meditate in the energy, if there's energy like this to be exposed to. Usually speaking, if we were able to group up so that we could be near each other, our own energy feeds back on itself and tends to expand. Now, this leads into when I was staying with Joel for a while up in Chico. Now Joel and I hadn't been near each other in any, we're talking like physically near each other for any extended period of time since 93.
No, there was that time I came down with Melody and
97, 98.
Yeah, I want to say it was like 97.
Yeah, but it wasn't for this long of a period of time. I was there for several days. And one of the things that began happening is my dreams began to expand. Joel and I started, our energy started intertwining, and we hadn't experienced that since the 80s. And if I'd stuck around long enough, we would have started sharing dreams and dream fasting, which that gets kind of weird.
Yeah. I had a strange experience this morning when I went out. The tree in my backyard, the big one, the shade tree, the one that looks over, that guards the property, had actually stopped me. Couldn't really understand what it was the message it was trying to get to me, but it was definitely trying to convey something. The other thing is I noticed that there was a lot of different types of mushrooms growing at the trunk, which never happened before. Like, I never noticed the mushrooms, specifically those types of mushrooms. So,
what kind of mushrooms are they?
I don't know. I'll have to take a picture of them and show it to you.
Well, one thing I found that's really cool is around certain times of year, certain types of mushrooms will pop up, and some of the best tasting ones that grow wild have a pink bottom, and they're called meadow sweet mushrooms, or fairy caps. And these things are delicious as hell. They grow up around here, but we have to wait until May-ish to find them, and then they grow big. You throw them into soup or whatever, and it automatically turns absolutely amazing in flavor. And the feelings that it imparts is amazing as well. It just cooks up and smells and tastes savory until you've tried it, there's no way to explain it. And they only grow wild. You cannot make them grow. So you may want to look this up, and I'll write it down here. Sweet mushrooms. They grew in our backyard, and we added them to our food, or we found them actually in parks. Oh my God, we found one that was about the size of an old 45.
Oh God.
Yeah, that was big, man. It was like, oh, hell yeah, we're definitely going to take this mother home. I kicked the cap over. It's pink underneath. Karen has an app on her phone that you just take a picture and it tells you what the breed of the plant is. It's like, oh, it's a meadowsweet. Oh, good. We're going to put this in soup. So. Sonia, you still having trouble with the connection, dear?
No, I've sorted it.
Okay. So, Aisha, you're finally moved now. Everything's good.
Well, I moved my body, but my furniture is still in the yard, in my father's yard. So.
Your what's still in your father's yard?
My furniture.
Oh, darn. Well, at least you're free of them.
One bedroom set over here so far. I didn't bring the other one.
The trees in the backyard actually don't like the house that you guys were in too much. I think we've discussed that one before. For some reason, that the trees actually know when people are bad mojo, and they really tend to try and hem people in.
Yeah.
So, Sonia, you were saying something about the guy. Somebody was from up there near where you live, or something. Probably fighting to figure out how to get it unmuted, huh?
No, it was they came up to, I think it was visit 3. The people that hired the quorum actually came to, to see if they can find the ghost on Queen Square, because there was a doctor there what killed his wife and somebody other on there. Lancaster Castle, the 3 Mariners, and Wilson's Park.
That last part was covered up with the sound of something sliding on something else there. Whoa.
Wilson's Park. It's
It's at the Ashton Memorial sort of thing to Lord Ashton. Before they turned it into that, that's where they used to hang people.
Lovely.
Technically, they haven't actually built on where they actually hang people. It's basically across the road, across from Boys Grammar, where they actually hung the people.
Lovely.
They were in the complete wrong area.
Well, that's the reason why. What's his name is what we know he's a fake. I wish I could say that there were people out there that are doing this kind of thing that weren't fakes, but this guy, you look at him and he just, as he walks, he screams, "Well practiced" and "money." Well, the two do not go well together when you're dealing with somebody who you're trying to get information from the other world. There is a certain level of trauma involved in all of it. And I'm grateful to those who don't have trauma involved. This is one of the things that Joel and I were discussing, is how visceral of a response I have whenever I deal with exposure to certain elements. I've gone through horrible, terrible stories. And a great many of them have caused PTSD-like symptoms. Okay? And so when my body and my mind and my gifts all basically come into alignment and I see something, with me, it is a very jarring experience. I very rarely does it happen that the information steals in quietly, like the other day, which was a different situation. And for me, it can be very, it can leave me quite shaken. Now, this is not to say that it is that way for everybody, but a great many of the tales that these things do impart and the things that you see are not pleasant ones. And that's the first ones that usually hop to the top, because that much trauma usually becomes the primary energy by which the data gets conveyed. So when I see this guy starting off with, "Oh, this is this and this is the other thing," and I sense the other, and I watch him and he's moving around like he's not actually tapping into anything. There's a certain demeanor and a certain level of pulling in within yourself in order to access this information that gets trickled into your head. There's no, "Oh, well, I know this, and this," and you're walking around with eyes wide open. No. There's you move around in a meaningful and slow and methodical fashion. And I don't think is that pretty much the same for you, Joel? I don't mean the trauma, but he's probably outside.
Yeah, I have a tendency to be methodical about it. I don't like to just really open up and just go like rush in.
And I've never seen anybody who was gifted just walk around quickly and they just, oh God, what would be the best way to say it? They're conversational. I don't think I've ever seen anybody be conversational about the other things. Just go, "Oh yes, well, this and this and this and this," and we're talking about it like we're talking about sports scores. That could be my personal bias, but I've in all the time I've been doing this, I've never seen anybody just go, "Yes, this is this and this," and we're talking about these scores and this happened. And it's like, no, nobody reviews that kind of thing like that. The amount of data that pours in, some of it you have to actually sift through, because a great amount of the data that pours into your head, you have to separate out the emotions that come along with it, the feelings, there's even some really strange sensations that come along with a great many of them. And I couldn't even tell you if those were the person who passed or whatever sensations when they were experiencing the situation themselves or what, because you get hit with it and you have to let it roll over you 2 or 3 times before you're able to go, okay, well, I get it. I get why I'm feeling all these other things. In Star Trek The Next Generation, Geordi LaForge is the blind engineer, and he has that visor on, and he learned to use it so that he could see. And the visor itself scans through all these different visual mediums. It goes through them and then starts over again, over and over again. So he has to ignore all the other data and focus on the one piece of information that he needs to. So you could see him staring intently. Basically, he's ignoring all the other data and just trying to pay attention to the one piece that he is trying to gain most of his information from. That's the closest thing I have seen to what Joel and I have to do when we're staring and sensing and feeling. We're trying to ignore extraneous stuff to find the core information, and then later on sifting through the other stuff to be able to set it aside and go, so this is need to know about this stuff, and okay, we're good. Well, this makes more sense now once I've looked at this several times. And sometimes the data and the information and the feelings and the sensing comes at you in a rolling wave of experiences. And it isn't until the 5th or 6th time through that you go, I get why this and I get why that. And I think that pretty much describes what I mean. That's the best I can give you for what I go through. Joel, if you have anything else to
add. As far as when I go through it, it says, and I can give you like when I'm first there, I can give you a preliminary impression. I give an impression I get, but then I have to kind of, like Sean said, figure out what's going on. My preliminary would be pretty close to what's going on, but it won't be too detailed. Then I would have to figure out and meditate or just focus in on individual things so I can figure out what it is that is actually speaking to me and what impressions I'm getting. It's like you said, it's hard to just sit and be able to figure everything out all at once really quickly. The only thing I could figure out that a person would be able to do that with, like commentary, like what Sean was saying, the conversational thing, is that that person's been there so many times that that person is familiar with it, and they can come through and give you the impression, but not like I've never met anybody that can do something like that the first time through. The only time I can get close to that is sometime if I'm doing some injury work, and that's only if I've had more than one session with a person. I mean, just like when I was talking about the tree out of my yard today, like it was trying to convey something to me, but I didn't know what it's trying to convey. And I've lived in this house for like 6 years, and I still couldn't tell you exactly what was going on with the tree at that moment. I have to process it.
And then, of course, some things don't like to impart all the data, like some ghosts don't like to be known, and cats are secretive about their names, etc. So there's some things that try to throw up walls of information as well as block you and simply outright refuse to answer. We're not mediums, so some of these things they don't want us to know. And mediums have a completely different series of gifts that allow them to be able to pry open the walls of information or get it from the energy that they suffuse. So it's for us, it's a little different. So you have to forgive us because we're giving you generalities, and there are people out there who probably can take you a little further that are mediums. As I've said many times, that's not us. We don't do that sort of thing. We're the other guys. We don't actually do things to to give you experiences and information. We're who you call when things keep being pear-shaped and you need them to stop. So, anybody got any questions?
No.
Anybody ever asked you guys to be one of those type psychics to solve a murder?
Never.
No, nobody's ever asked me for that.
Nor would I want to be.
I've been around murder sites, and I can't even stay in the area for very long, because that kind of trauma, it feels like somebody pushing you away with a screwdriver against your forehead, and it just the pressure keeps on building up until you get right in the middle of it. There was a lady who'd committed suicide at the end of my street when I lived in Lenox, and every time I went past this lady's house, because I was doing paper deliveries, I had a funny feeling about the house, and it made me nauseous. 3 days later, the end of the street was cordoned off because we live on a dead-end street. Nobody was allowed to leave. They had opened up the house. Let me tell you, there's nothing like a corpse for a smell, especially one that's been rotting in a house for a week with the heater on. And as soon as they had done it, and I didn't even know that the lady was dead, it was worse. Some walls can be made to contain, and as soon as you throw open the doors, it all goes out there into the world. And I actually had to take my bike and head in a direction I normally don't, which would be heading into Inglewood, etc., and getting away from Lenox, because there's just no way I was going to sit there on the street and no, I just couldn't. My house already had enough issues with the metaphysical. I didn't want to be around any more of it. Is somebody playing music back there, Joel?
My wife is watching a TV show on my mic, which is weird because I'm like, it's not that loud, but it's like definitely low in the background. She's watching The Path, which is kind of, yeah. We'll talk about that later off screen. Oh man, this show.
For a weird occurrence in my mom's house is a duplex. That's where I was raised. In fact, the house to the right, as you're staring at it from the street, was where I was raised from birth until about the age of 3, and then we moved to the next door house, which is the other side of the duplex. My mom's, after much time, started renting out the side where I lived when I was up until I was 3 years old, and she rented it to a friend of hers and their family, and she died of cancer, and she died in the house. After she had died, everybody was at the funeral except for me, because I had to work, and I heard people moving around next door, and I knew nobody was there. I knew nobody should have been there, so I figured, okay, there's going to be like a robber or something in there. So I grabbed the keys off of the coat hook, and I run around to the front of the house, because you can't come in through the back because it's sliding glass doors. And I run to the front of the house, and the front door's locked. I thought, oh, okay, this is crazy. The screen's locked, the door's locked. Okay, they must have let themselves in through a window. So I popped in. I come in through the door, and I said, hello, is anybody here? Nobody answers. So I close and lock the screen, close and lock the front door, which is two locks, which is the handle lock and the deadbolt, and walk into the house. I'm looking around. I check in all the rooms, check the kitchen, check the pantry. Nobody's there. I go to the back door. I open the door, and all of a sudden I feel a rush of wind, and I turn around. The front door, it opened itself completely and then closes itself gently. I quickly slam the glass door shut. Now remember, I locked this thing, run up to the front door, and go to grab it because, of course, it's open. I should be able to. There's maybe somebody. I just missed somebody, and I grab the door. Nope, it's locked. Door handle's locked. The deadbolt is thrown. I opened it up. The screen is still locked. So, and I didn't see a damn thing. I didn't see any ghosts leaving, but after that, there was no more activity in that part of the house. That was the only activity I'd ever seen. Trying to explain that to somebody so that they would listen, they didn't care. It was like, oh, you shouldn't have been in my house. Like it sounded like there was burglars over here. There were people moving around. If you can hear it through the damn wall, which is like 1.5 feet thick, but that separates the duplex, that's significant. Okay, that's not that's. It normally takes people being really loud on the other side to be heard at all when my grandparents lived there. So just sharing that story because I thought was appropriate.
So I put pictures of that tree on a conversation on my phone.
Okay.
But I don't know how to share it on here, so those that are on a conversation in the phone, they can see the pictures.
Okay, according to Lori, she said 3 ley lines converge under Athelhampton Manor.
Sounds about right.
Well, that would explain the reason for all the activity and the oak tree.
As soon as you asked, I was like, yeah, there's going to be ley lines.
Well, I don't ever want to assume anything, so that we, because I don't want to sound like it is like, oh, there's got to be ley lines there. It's like, nope, there isn't.
It said that there were 3 ley lines converged there, and one of the ley lines comes from Stonehenge. Apparently.
Say no more, fam. Say no more.
So that's all it takes, and it's coming from Jal de Gag Ventor. That's really significant. That under the Salisbury Plain, the energy that runs through there, that is the kind of stuff that helped that thing that came after me to have enough energy to be able to run around outside of the grave. So you think on that one.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's one of those creepy things.
Now this tree, it seems like it's a very prominent tree at your house.
You think?
It also seems to be very talkative.
Yeah, well, it's not as is normally not that talkative, but it.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Like it doesn't. Well, to the point where it's like stops me in my tracks.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't necessarily converse with me.
Looking at it, for me, it's like, hi, I'm here. Yes, I'm here. Hello.
Yeah. It
seems
has
like
that
the kind of tree that talks to you constantly.
I don't see the pictures, etc.
You'll have to go to your phone and be into the chat on that one.
I've got Google Hangouts up, but you're not sending anything to me there. You're sending it to the other account, the one that's linked to the YouTube channel, not to me.
Okay, I have it in the one for the ongoing call with, it looks like us 3 are only people in it, so I'll have to send it to you. But no, it's one of those things. It talks to like all the creatures around. It doesn't necessarily talk to, like I said, it doesn't necessarily speak to me per se. But it's definitely like it is prominent, and it likes to be there, and it likes to have people there.
It reminds me of like that overly nosy neighbor who just means well.
Oh, great! You should name the tree Mrs. Kravitz then.
My gosh.
It seems very proud to be there too, because it likes knowing things. It
covers. It is big enough where it's in my yard, my neighbor's yard, and it overlooks the neighbor behind me's yard.
Oh,
so it looks over.
perfect spot for it.
Yeah, and it's tall enough where it can see pretty much everything down the street. It's like the root system. If I should have taken a picture of the roots so it can get a good look at it, because that's kind of like stupid, big, huge.
Well,
I'm
if
waiting
you're
for it to come out of the ground and just start walking off with my house one day.
If you're looking at the tree from the distance one, to the right is where Joel and I did the work when we were putting him back together again. The tree is not menacing in even the slightest fashion. It is it's very interesting, but I think the night when we were doing the work on you, it spent the entire time like doing the tree version of eating popcorn and watching. It's just like, oh, the suspense is terrible. I hope it'll last.
That's exactly the kind of vibe I get from it.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's a watcher. It doesn't really do anything unless it really needs to, but it watches. And so that's like a new activity that it hasn't seen before. I've done healing sessions outside before. I've done, we go out there, but it doesn't really, it's more of a watcher. It's a record keeper. There you go.
The tree itself seemed to be impassive for the most part when we were there. I never got a positive or a negative vibe. Just like hello. Go do
really?
it. Go about your normal daily lives. Just go on.
Yeah,
I'm getting like a super positive vibe from it.
No, it is. It's a record keeper. It's
just not
very positive.
It's just not like positive as in active. Not as it's neither negative. It won't do anything. It won't do anything for you. It just wants to sit there and pay attention to everything around it.
But if you can access the memories or records that is kept, like if I don't want to say this, for some strange reason, if they have to take this tree down, I would want rounds out of this tree so I can make furniture or items out of it. If I could get up and take a sample from this tree for a wand, let's say, it would hold so much knowledge in it. It's a real old tree. It's super old. Like it is very, very old. My neighbor trimmed it a little bit, and
what kind of a tree is it?
Take it down. I don't know.
Get the app name from Karen. You can put it on your phone, and then you should be able to take a picture of the leaves, and that will actually tell you from the leaf you get the type of the tree.
I'll have to do that.
So anybody got any other questions? I know Lori's going to go, no.
Ha!
Well, it's because I edge you off at the pass. Head them off at the pass. I hate that Wild West cliche. Bam. Sorry.
Oh, how is Lincoln doing?
Well, you should know better than either of us.
I can't talk to him.
We'll tell you about it later. So, Aisha, got any questions?
Yes. What is the ley lines that you're talking about? What are they used for?
Wow. See, that's a complicated.
I just put I was just typing a response in right when we say ley lines are like conduits of energy.
But it's more than that. They're almost like the lifeblood of the planet. It moves energy around like a circulatory system, but at the same time, they radiate.
It's a good way to explain it.
It's almost like the planets, and there's ones that go through the Earth, and there's ones that go through the sky, and Yeah, they
It's like the nervous system of the planet, kind of in a loose.
And it feeds a lot of energy into the environment. And where they cross, they radiate more energy than just a small amount, and it becomes like a dome. And where three cross, I mean, it's rare for two to cross, but where three cross, you actually get a huge dome of encased energy that tends to make EMF meters go crazy.
Think of it like if you go to a power spot, or most spiritual centers are on power spots or places where more than two ley lines meet, because of the spiritual energy that it can create. A lot of those will have a tendency to be like, when you see how they talk about, like, yes, I'm going to go see this mountain guru. Mountains are usually a good places for it because of high contents of quartz and minerals that's on top of it, which usually have ley lines there as well, like multiple ley lines converging in those spots. So usually if you look at your ley lines and you can follow it to where there's junctions, you can usually find like energy centers at power spots. Just a concentration of spiritual energy, like a well, kind of like a geyser for that kind of stuff.
And two crossing, like near me, the closest two that cross are in Tehachapi, in the mountains just south of Tehachapi. But three, no, you never normally in the United States find three where near people. And if you do, you hear about people saying, yeah, stay away from there. There's issues, or you see things, or there's ghosts, and it turns out it's not even ghosts. It's just memories, or things keep repeating themselves, or, I mean, animals end up dead in some places because the energy's gone sour because of people doing negative things in that area. The Ghost Adventures crew, they've actually encountered places where three ley lines connect before, and then gone into those places and come out all screwed up. Animals biting on them, bugs landing on them, things chasing them through the woods, which is funny because it's just the forest going, go away, and having enough energy to chase them off. And they go, oh, it's ghosts. It's really not. It's not ghosts. It's just that it doesn't want you there. It's the forest decided that this is my forest. We don't want humans here to screw things up. No fires, get out. I think they did that that was something that they encountered for their Halloween special. I loved how they call it Route 666 through California, through the United States. Like, you guys are idiots. Everything's got to be the devil. Oh yeah, Zach Bagans now is the owner of the Dybbuk box. He bought it because his life isn't complicated enough without it.
Isn't that the box where there's like a Jewish demon in it or something?
Just a demon, yes. It's the Jewish box, the wine box that contains it. And yeah.
Why would somebody want that? I'm sorry. Why?
Because he's an idiot. He really is. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. He's stupid. He's asking for it. It's like, oh, this is an interesting thing, and if you want to go and sit in the presence of it while the thing is open, you have to sign a waiver. It's like, okay, so you're gonna mess up people's lives on a waiver and money.
He's gonna fucking open it.
He's had it open on several occasions, and if people want to go and sit in its presence, they have to go down to the vault underneath this building. And
no, thank you. No, I'm good. I'm good.
He's actually he was planning on making a show based on that, on his house of weird stuff. He's even got Kevorkian's stuff. Remember his van, the death van, and all that other stuff? He's got it in one of the rooms.
Well, that makes sense.
This guy, he's a friggin' lunatic. I try to watch his stuff and think and be not judgmental, but you have to realize he's got he really is pushing the envelope for a reason, because I guess he can't really see anything. What was that you were asking, Aisha, for the website Lori put up about the ley lines? How do they know where the... Oh, do you remember we were talking about dowsing?
Speaking of,
before?
I was going to ask her how her little dowsing experience went.
Yeah, dowsing is how you know. And I think I remember telling everybody I don't use sticks to douse anymore. I use my internal compass, you know, either along the ground. I use the brown arrow or the blue arrow in the skies to point to the ley lines. That's how you know where the ley lines are. You can also find where ley lines are, like there's our EMF detectors, not EMF detectors, yeah, EMF detectors that people use, and you can sense pulses going along the ley lines, and people find them and then track them that way. But mainly speaking, it's by people dousing with sticks or other asensing them. All right. Any other questions?
Those EMF detectors, are they the same things that can detect ghosts?
They're supposed to. When a ghost actually uses a spike of energy to make itself present or to reach out and lash out, the EMF detectors can sense when it happens, or at least if that's the energy that they're using. Ghosts generally tend to use electromagnetics to be able to move things around, or I should say they don't use them. The effect of what they're doing can be registered in the electromagnetic frequency. And sometimes it's so quick that the EMF doesn't have a chance to actually catch the ripples. Joel and I actually have been around things when they've happened, and I doubt, because of how quickly they occur, that you'd get a big spike on an EMF. But we don't rely on electronics. And if I remember correctly, in some of the occasions when you see people going to hauntings, the EMF detector doesn't always go up. Usually an EMF detector going up is an indicator of something gathering energy or moving into an area, almost like a door opening and closing. So sometimes it's an indicator of something moving to be in your presence. Sometimes it's not. It's hard to say because there's no hard, fast rules, because they don't work with anybody who's gifted to be able to give them information behind the scenes to say, this is what I see, this is what I understand, this is what's occurring, figure this into your scientific process. They don't do that because they're trying to work at it from a completely scientific standpoint. So good, bad, or indifferent, that's how they work it. Yeah, I think I remember, Joel, that the apartment complex where we were, there was only one ley line there.
Mm-hmm.
I feel kind of lucky now.
Yeah.
That was the one that the Native Americans had tapped into because it was where the well was, just off of Hawthorne Boulevard.
Yeah.
They now just dumping all that water, that clean water, into the ocean. It's like, forget drinking it. We're just going to spend $6 billion on dumping it into the ocean because reasons.
Yeah. Sounds about right.
So anybody else have any other questions? No. Anything else? I wish Ginseng was here. He said he had nothing to add.
Was he? I had an interesting conversation with him. I wish he was here so we can carry on that conversation.
Well, when we get offline, he probably might want to pop in. In any case, I'm going to outro and then we can discuss things for a little bit. And let's see. Okay. Now, if you like what you've heard here and you're interested in any of these subjects, or you want to expand on them, or you have something that you want us to investigate, please be sure to leave a comment. And if you like the video, please give us a thumbs up, recommend us to your friends. We're still trying to grow. It's only been a year, not even quite a year, since we first started doing this, which brings me back to happy birthday, Sonia. She had her birthday not too long ago, and in a few days, Lori will have her birthday. So happy birthday, Lori. If you have questions for any of us about any of the things that we've experienced, please put them into the comments. You can ask us, or you can send us emails. Or if you need to question one of the other people and you don't have their emails, I can refer the emails on to Lori, Sonia, Pharaoh Wife, and then they can answer. Please, there's no questions that are forbidden. If there are ones that are kind of sensitive, I'll let you know. But I have nothing that is off limits. Once again, like, comment, subscribe, refers to your friends. And if you have people who are in need of advice or help, we are fully capable of assisting people. I promise you that. We don't actually have to, in some cases, have to be present, but we would like to be able to get together enough money to be able to get out to people when they're in danger or in need. This is not a thrill-seeking thing. There are far too many people out there who are in the midst of situations that they are unable to handle. And calling people who do paranormal investigations is, well, kind of useless. I don't want to be rude about this, but to paraphrase Beetlejuice, what are you going to do? Viciously rearrange their environment? They're ghosts. If you need help, you're going to need people who know how to help. And there is no such thing as a one-size-fits-all. There's no such thing as a one-size-fits-most. There's no such thing as a one-size-fits-many solution. And sometimes it takes a little while, but we do find that we are able to get results. So farewell to you all. May the blessings of all you hold dear keep you safe until once more our paths meet.